Okay. What's up, boys? I haven't felt anything in a while, so I decided to play Castle Crashers again for a nostalgia kick. I have so many memories of playing this game on the Xbox as a kid and replaying every level hundreds of times. Replaying it recently got me thinking, can I beat certain bosses without getting hit? Is it even possible to no-hit every boss? I don't think I've ever seen that done before, so I decided to give it a try and attempt to beat every single Castle Crashers boss without any damage taken. After looking at the wiki, there's a bunch of bosses that are considered as minor bosses. For the purposes of this video, I'm keeping it to official/major bosses of the game. The rules for this challenge are simple, just don't take any damage during any of these fights. The first boss I fought was the iconic barbarian boss. His attacks include using a spike wall to slam or poke you, being launched back from his fire breath and his normal punches. This battle wasn't very difficult and only took me a few tries, but it did show me areas that I may have issues with later in the challenge. I started the challenge with a character that wasn't even close to max level. I didn't really do any planning or optimizing for what character I should use based on magic or anything, so for now, my plan was just to use the Ice Knight until I ran into any issues. I assumed the freezing ability would come in handy anyway. After beating the Barbarian, I realized that my agility was definitely going to need some upgrades, both for the bow damage and attack speed and the movement speed. Anyways, I moved on to the next boss, the Troll Mother. This already spelled out my next issue. This boss only appears at the end of the level. I didn't know if I should attempt to clear the whole level without getting hit, or if I should just do the boss fight. So just to be sure, I decided on clearing the whole level if a boss is at the end. This ended up sucking later. Just using normal combos can pretty much safely get you to the end of the level if you don't mess anything up. After going through all of the poop jokes in this one, haha, I finally made it to the Troll Mother on a hitless run. The only things you really have to worry about during this fight is getting overrun with the baby trolls and running into this fire pit. Other than that, this is a pretty easy fight to take no damage in. I didn't think this giant troll chase scene would count as a boss fight, but I got through it with zero mistakes anyway. The next fight was the Catfish. The king pulls up to this fight to help us out, and if we protect him from the hairballs, he stuns the catfish for us to do most of our damage. Since this fight is in the water, it's a bit annoying if you get knocked off of whatever you're surfing on, but luckily that won't be a problem for us since that counts as getting hit anyway. All we have to do is pray that this little guy doesn't pop up and quickscope us before we get the chance to kill him. Luckily he stops doing that attack after half of his health is gone, and from then on it's just making sure to avoid his swimming. That and making sure the cannonballs don't miss. What? All in all, that ended up being an easier fight than I thought it would be. Up next is Pipistrello, which I did not know how to name before making this video. Unfortunately for me, this is another boss where you need to clear the whole level before the fight. These slime things fucked me up as a kid, but with some ranged attacks and some patience, they were easy enough to avoid. The attacks we have to avoid from the bat include him pooping everywhere, his licks, and summoning these annoying little bats. Shockingly, I was able to do this boss on the first try, even though I almost panicked near the end where he releases a ton of the baby bats. Moving on to the Conehead Groom, another boss where I have to play the whole level first. Beating all the knights flawlessly in this level was easy enough when they didn't decide to bomb me out of nowhere. I'm gonna kill myself. Once you make it to the boss, his attacks are similar to the normal Conehead Knights. In addition, he also has a spinning attack in his organ that he plays to drop bombs on the player. This was the first boss that really gave me some issues. His attacks come out crazy fast, and he tends to hit you if you try to combo him. I got a method down where I would freeze him and then hit him a few times, but I had to pray he wouldn't come swinging with that spinning attack. What? After a few hours of grinding, I finally got a run where I didn't get hit once. The next boss starts right after the Groom. This is another chase scene with a giant troll, but this time we're fighting him. We have to clear out all the enemies that try hopping on the carriage and avoid all the bombs from the thieves. After all that, we just kill the thieves as they hop on and use magic to cancel the troll's laser attack that it tries charging up. I got this one first try, which was a welcome change after the Groom. We take unavoidable damage here on the cave. There is a method that Flammable on YouTube found that you can avoid the damage, but I could not get that to work, so fuck it, whatever, the boss was dead. The next boss is one I was afraid of, the Cyclops. This is yet another one with a stage I have to complete before making it to the fight. Before talking about the level, I want to talk about juggling. It's probably the fastest way to deal a ton of damage safely in Castle Crashers. Doing certain combos will let you keep enemies in the air while you continuously hit them. In this level, we're fighting knights again, but with stronger stats this time. The ones in this section of the game are heavier, making them a lot harder to juggle. That fun little quirk made the pre-boss part of this level much harder than it needed to be. This one took me hours. It really shouldn't have, but, you know, skill issue. I finally figured out that for heavy enemies, the best way to get good damage while keeping them immobilized was just using the heavy attack combo. The actual boss battle wasn't even that bad. I figured out that if you stand just south of him, he'll give you some time to avoid his slam attack, and if he bolts away, you just need a shield for his knife throwing. Easy enough. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's done. Oh, surprise, surprise, the next boss had a level to clear before it. Thank god these enemies are light though. Juggling them is pretty easy, so I was hoping this level wouldn't be as excruciating as the last one. The level to get to the boss is pretty straightforward. Kill enemies, avoid these traps, go up an elevator fight, fight a big guy, and then we're on to the boss. The Industrial Machine is a room boss controlled by this evil lord goofball. It consists of these turrets that pop out of the ground shooting lightning balls that you have to destroy, alternating range turrets on the right that you have to destroy, and this robotic hand that fingers you on the left that you have to destroy. Once all of these machines are broken, the battle is over. This one didn't take me very long, although I did almost get hit right at the end. Moving on to the lava world for the dragon and sock puppet fight. This was fucked. This is a level with multiple tough fights, more than double the enemies in the Cyclops stage, those enemies using magic unpredictably, and a mini-boss. I did not anticipate how awful this would be. The enemies even evolve through the stage and start using more and more magic attacks that are unblockable and come out instantly. There's a section where I have to fight a ton of skeletons with wonky AIs that whip around for no reason and will ruin a run if you don't play perfectly. Then, there's a mini-boss which is insanely hard to no-hit on its own. Then the boss battle. The mini-boss is a volcano that shoots meteors that fall onto your position while spawning enemies from the sides of the screen. You have to power up with a sandwich to even hurt it, and that makes you vulnerable for the transformation frames. Everything has to line up perfectly to not get hit here. After spending my entire day off from work doing runs on this map, I finally got this run.
Woo. Watch out, watch out, watch out.
Holy fuck.
Watch out for sandwich.
Oh my fucking god. But then this happened. It's over.
Yo! Who cares? No, count, bro, who cares?
Yeah, fuck it, we're counting that as hitless. I'm never playing that level again. The boss is dead.
The boss was dead.
Our next boss is Korn. Most of his attacks involve hitting you back while you're meleeing him, so I decided to fight him with ranged. His only other attack is a spinning move that always has the same path, so it was easy to just avoid it. Since I was using ranged, I picked a weapon that increased agility, which made the fight go by much faster. Whenever he popped up, I would arrow him to do my damage, and after a few tries, I got it.
Yeah!
Yes, sir! After the Korn boss, we move on to Medusa's lair. The enemies here aren't as awful as the ones on Lava World, and after a few fights, we got to her. Medusa constantly sheds snakes that crawl forward, and as her health gets lowered, the amount of snakes increases. She also has the ability to turn players into stone, which we're counting as getting hit, and she shoots poison balls. If you get too close to her, she'll try biting you with one of her snakes. I used this to my advantage as a buffer and kept close to her to avoid other attacks. I just shielded until she tried hitting me, and then I got a few attacks off and shielded again. Using this method, I only had to get to her a few times before I successfully got her down. Moving on, we have to get through the Ice Castle to get to the Frost King. The pre-fight segment is pretty easy, just run through these icicles, then onto a sound cue challenge. Hold down shield if you hear the bows fire, or jump if you hear the Frost King. This part is pretty easy if you're paying attention, so the Frost King was the only real issue. The Frost King has a few attacks he cycles through, like shooting a patch of ice spikes in front of him and spawning similar spikes around the room slowly. Once you get him down to around 2/3 health, he starts spawning icicles on you constantly. He continues his other attacks while you have to keep moving. This wasn't that bad until he hits low health. Then the real fight starts. His icicles get faster and faster, so you need to constantly pay attention to where you're walking. Staying in the air helped me keep some momentum while hitting him, which let me dodge the icicles without waiting around. This part isn't that bad as long as you don't backtrack into the spike path. I tried keeping a circular motion and attacked the boss in certain cycles to be safe. Throughout the fight, the only thing you really need to worry about is him doing the sudden ice path attack while you're sliding or falling, since your momentum will carry through into the attack. With some luck and some patience, I was able to beat Frost King, and now it was finally time for the final bosses. The last bosses in the game are separated by 4 portals after a small level. Even though they're technically on the same level, you guys got me fucked up if you think I'm doing them all hitless in a row. The first fight in this section is the Painter. He comes down and paints enemies that come to life for the players to fight. I took these out easily with range since they don't move fast. At one point in the fight, all of his drawings come out at once while he walks around. He doesn't actually attack you himself, so just being careful here is enough to beat the boss with ease. Next, the Cyclops is resurrected for a second fight. This one is really similar to the first fight with him, but his attacks have a longer range and he brings out his buddy from the casket occasionally. Just moving around during that and treating him like his first fight made this one easy too. Now it's time for the second to last boss in the game, the Necromancer. Fuck everything I did before this. This is where the real video starts. I forgot how hard this boss was.
With this guy, it gets to the levels of I'm not even sure if this shit is possible.
Yeah, this might actually ruin the video now that I think about it. This is fucked. This is so bad.
This is
physically impossible.
I don't think this is possible.
I really don't think this is possible. This fight easily had the potential to ruin this video completely for me. The Necromancer revives enemies for 2 waves, then you fight them. The issue starts with the enemies he spawns. They fed the AI crack for this fight, and it shows. Their movement is erratic and insanely fast, they love magic attacks, and there's a ton of them. The first wave is maybe possible to complete with methods I used earlier in this video, but the next wave was another story. 3 beefy enemies that have glitched infinite grab range, along with a bunch of other high-level endgame enemies. Most players have a lot of trouble beating this boss with a full 5 potions, and I wanted to beat him without getting hit at all. It seemed impossible until I looked it up. I could only find a single other person who did this, and luckily they did it on insane mode, so I had a little hope. But they played perfectly with a level 99 character. Apparently it took them 50 hours and 4 months of grinding to get this accomplishment. This level of gameplay would be insane for me to pull off, so I needed to go into it with another plan. The guy who did it before believed that the Blue Knight is one of the few characters that can actually pull this off hit list, so I got crazy lucky in that aspect. The first thing I did to prepare for this fight is learn a method that I had put off researching until I needed it. The fly combo is a move that you can use pretty early on in the game that allows you to stay in the air forever. It's pretty tough to do consistently at first, so I started grinding it. I played random levels until I could constantly stay in the air and naturally fly through all of the level with perfect control, not making any input errors. Next, I added spell weaving to my arsenal. While keeping a fly combo going, you use a downward spell that luckily my character had. Then you quickly reset the fly combo to stay in the air. The hardest part about this was keeping my mind from getting mixed up with the buttons, but all in all, this wasn't that bad to get down. Next, I found out you could affect your falling speed during a fly combo with a double spin jump combo. I just had to use a magic jump to get off the ground, do the spin attack, and then start the fly combo. Until I hit the ground next, my fall would be slowed so that the flying would be easier, and I had more options for aerial moves. Next, I researched beefy AI manipulation. Beefy enemies can get stuck on parts of the map if you lead them correctly, and this was basically a must with these since they had infinite grab range. After a ton of testing, I figured out that if you fly combo near this corner, you could get the heavy stuck here where you're just out of their range. You can also manipulate how they move by changing direction or firing the aerial magic in certain directions. This was precise and unreliable when I was doing it, but after a ton of testing, I had at least a few runs that could have worked if I didn't make a misinput or get attacked by unlucky magic from other enemies. Adding all of these methods together, I just had to get the perfect run. Hundreds of precise inputs in a row, fast reactions to anything that goes wrong, and insane luck had to all come together. After days of practicing my new arsenal of moves, theory crafting, and persistence, I finally got this run.
Not even hit yet?
No.
No fucking
here he
way.
is.
Whoa. Oh my fucking god.
I think that's it.
Holy shit. Bro, my heart dropped like 2 different times.
My heart was pounding after this fight, but I finally did it. I think the method could be further improved to make it more consistent, but for my purposes, a lucky run where everything just went right is fine by me. Now I just needed to finish the final boss and this challenge would be complete. The evil wizard has 6 stages of his boss fight. The first stage has these spinning crystals that you can easily avoid and attack when they're in the ground. The second stage, you need to attack with magic when he's blue and anything else when he's red. If you hit him with the wrong type of attack, the attack affects you instead. This part wasn't tough at all as long as you're paying attention. The third stage, the wizard gets an inflation fetish and starts floating around the stage. He drops these white blobs that shoot projectiles after a second, but other than that, this stage is pretty free. And then we're done. Just kidding. This is the spider transformation. This fourth stage involves 2 of his minions trying to attack you while he does some goofy stuff with his spider claws. I just used the fly combo to stay safe on this one, and the only real risk is the minions using their magic to hit you if you're unlucky. Stage 5, he starts floating around again, so again, free. Stage 6, the last fight of the game. He has a few quick attacks with his fire sword and loves to shoot fireballs to keep you moving. As long as you play carefully and use range magic on him, you can easily do this one. And then that's it. It's possible to beat every single boss in Castle Crashers without getting hit. A lot more went into the making of this video than I thought it would, but it was well worth it. I feel like the kid version of me would be very happy to hear that I accomplished this type of thing and that I'm still playing this game years later. I never asked this, but subscribe please, I'm begging you.